Okay, so we'll start. Last time we talked about absolute stability region, right? So of a Ranguta method, S-stage Ranguta method, and then we see two examples. One of that is standard form for explicit method, right? So where we just write down the formula for the stability polynomial RQ as the Taylor's expansion of e to the power q, right? And then we find the region, or basically we found the boundary of the stability region. And then for an implicit method, right? So we see that, or for some method where the order may not be of maximum order, right? So in that case, we try to find it by using the direct method, right? So where we write down the polynomial in terms of B transpose E, B transpose A E, B transpose A squared E, and so on, right? So those are the two different ways of getting that, right? So the second way will always work, right? First way is only a special case where it is only for the explicit method of maximum order, right? So when you don't know the order, then you basically have to find the order first, and then only you can apply that. So the second method will always work irrespective of the method, right? So now what we are going to do is we are going to talk about another type of stability known as non-linear stability of implicit Ranguta methods. Right? So non-linear stability of implicit Ranguta methods. Right? So we are going to define a new term called B stability. Right? So let us define it first. Sorry. Right. So before defining B stability, let us start with this. Okay, so here we mean, we define a new term called deceptive function, right? So f is a deceptive function if, right, where f is the right hand side function of a given initial value problem, right? Our standard initial value problem. So we call that function as deceptive if for a given inner product, right, the difference between the function evaluated at two different solutions, right? So obviously, you know, two different solutions mean they are associated with two different initial conditions, because we always assume that whenever we talk about an initial value problem, we always assume that it satisfies Lipschitz condition. So obviously it has a unique solution, right? So if there is a unique solution, then the only way you can get two different solutions is by changing the initial value. Right? So let us say you have two different solutions for two different initial values. So then the inner product of the difference between the function evaluated at two different solutions with the difference between the two different solutions is negative, right? Then we call the function as a deceptive function, right? So this is about the right hand side function of the given initial value problem. Now using this, we are going to define something called B stability. Right, so next definition. Okay, so this is called B stability, right? The method is said to be B stable if, right, so the autonomous systems, right, so f of y of t form, right, but f should satisfy the deceptive condition, right, and for those deceptive condition, you should have two initial values. So for those initial values, when you apply the Ranguta method, you will get two different set of solutions, approximations, right? So for initial value 1, y is the original solution, capital Y. So you will get an approximation y sub n. And then for another initial value, in the deceptive condition, you have capital Y bar as the solution. So in that case, small y bar will be the approximation when you apply the Ranguta method for that initial value. Right? So in that sense, you will have two different set of numerical approximations for the two different set of solutions which you have considered when you have the deceptive condition. So for those set of numerical solutions, so you have two different set of numerical solutions. If those numerical solutions satisfy this condition, right? So for the current iteration, right? So the current approximation different between the two, the distance between the two approximated solutions is less than the distance between the approximated solutions in the previous step. That means the distance is decreasing, right? So yn minus yn bar is larger, then yn plus 1 and yn plus 1 bar is smaller. So obviously yn plus 2 and yn plus 2 bar is even smaller. So when n gets larger, the two solutions get close to each other, right? So in that case, if we have such kind of condition, then we call B stability, right? In generally, for two different initial values, when you have the solutions, when the initial values are close enough, then when the solutions are close enough, then we call the method as stable. That is how regularly we define the stability case, right? But here it is B stability because it is associated with this deceptive condition as well. So now to talk a little bit more about these deceptive conditions and B stability, let us recall something which is called tensor product of matrices. And so you must have seen this or you might not, I don't know. Let me recall it. Okay, so this is how we define the tensor product of these two matrices A and B. right? So here A and B are of two different sizes, right? So A is an S cross S matrix and B is an M cross N matrix. So when you define the tensor product, that is different from the regular product, right? So A dot B is different. Here we say A cross B, right? So where we put a circle around the cross just to denote tensor product. Some books denote this as Kronecker product as well, right? If you see Kronecker product of two matrices, you might see similar kind of definition as well. So it's that's how some books redefine it. So in this case, you know that what you do is it is going to be a large size matrix, right? So when you multiply S cross S and M cross M matrix together under tensor product, then you get a matrix of S times M cross S times M matrix. So if you have a 3 cross 3 and 4 cross 4 matrix, then the product is going to be 12 cross 12, right? So that is how it is going to be, right? So that is the tensor product example, or that's how you define the tensor product of a two matrices, right? So a simple example, let me show you. Okay, so if you have A as 1 2 3 4 and B as 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7 8 9, then your A cross B is going to be like this, right? So 1 into this matrix 1 4 7 2 5 8 3 6 9. Then the second block is 2 into this, right? 3 into this, 4 into this, right? So if you write it down, you know you will get a 6 cross 6 matrix, right? So that is how you do the tensor product, right? So we will use this idea of tensor product to verify some properties of the B stability, right? So let us go back to B stability now. So when I say 1 by this matrix, that means you multiply every component by 1. Here 2 by this matrix, so you multiply every component by 2. And then 3 by this matrix is multiply 3, every component of this matrix by 3, and the other one multiply everything by a 4. Right? So that is how you do that, which you can do now. Right? Right. So now what we are going to do is let us go back to our original problem. Okay, so when you have applied this RK method to an autonomous system, then you know autonomous system, this is how your f looks like, right? F of y of t. So basically it is a function of y only, and y is a function of t, which you all know. Right? So that is how you define the autonomous system. So when you apply that, your function is going to be of this form, where this is basically a function of this. Right? So that's understandable. That's how usually we define the Ranguta method. Right. So now what we can do is we shall write down, right, the tensor product of the matrices, right. Okay, so now this is just a notation. So because you know everything is a column vector, right? So you know the solution yn is a column vector of certain size, right? M cross M or N cross N, M size column vector. That is what we assume, right? So yn plus 1 is again an M column vector. So then Zi or Z1 is a M column vector, Z2 is an M column vector, and all of them are M column vectors. So now basically you have S equations, each of them of M column vectors, right? So you know your Z1 is going to be an M column vector, right? So it's of size M. Z2 is again an M column vector, and so all the way up to your ZS is going to be an M column vector, right? Because all of them are M column vectors. So if you put all of them in one column, right? So you know that you will get a big column vector, right? So you name that as Z. Okay, so you named it as Z, right? So and then what you have is this. So then you can look at the size M, 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 M. So SM, right? Because there are S sets of M length vectors, so it's the whole size of Z is going to be SM size, right? But A is an S cross S matrix, right? Remember, this is an S cross S matrix, but this is of size SM, right? So this is of size SM. So now this is of size SM. So you have to make this into an appropriate size. So you multiply this with a M cross M matrix, identity matrix, right? So that does not change anything, right? So then eventually you can put this system into a matrix form like this, right? In terms of tensor product, right? That is what we write down here, right? Nothing else. Just put the vectors, all of them together, and write them as a tensor product case, right? And then rewrite this into a single matrix equation, right? So basically, it is a vector of size Sm is equal to another vector of size Sm plus h. H is a constant number, you know that, right? Times a matrix. That matrix is of size Sm cross Sm because that is written as a tensor product of two matrices of size S and M, right? Multiplied by another vector, right? F of Z is a vector again, so another vector of same size, right? Sm size. So eventually you will get a column vector at the end, right? So when you add up all the things. So that is how we denote this uh, whole set of S equation into a single matrix equation, right? So the reason for doing this is just to write down things in a simplified form, right? So that is what we are going to see next, right? So let me write down the other two concepts. Right, so now what we do is we define two more matrices, right? Because we want to write everything in a matrix form, right? So we define a new matrix B with components B1 up to Bs, that is the components you have here, right? These are constants, right? So there are S constants. So you put a S constant on the diagonal of the matrix B. So it is going to be only a diagonal matrix. So it is going to, B will look like this, right? So B1, B2 and all the way up to Bs, and Q will be of this form, right? So now you already know what is B and you already know what is A. So this term and you can do it together, right? So sorry, this has to be capital B, right? So B times A inverse plus A inverse transpose times B minus A inverse transpose B inverse times A inverse, right? So the meaning of A inverse transpose, you all know, it is the transpose of the inverse or inverse of the transpose, right? So I will write the condition for the B stability based on this as a remark. The proof is too lengthy, so I am going to skip it. Right? So if the matrix is B and Q are positive semi-definite, or in other words, they call it sometimes non-negative definite, right? So in that case, we say that the RK method is B stable. Right? So if the method is, if the matrix A is non-negative definite, then and Q is non-negative definite, then we call the matrix, we call it as a B stable matrix. Right? So in the next class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give an example. This proof is difficult, so I ask you to refer this proof somewhere in that books or online, right? So it is a lengthy proof and little too much for the standard of this section. So I will skip the proof and ask you to refer it somewhere else in the textbooks, right? So we will come back to it later if we have time, right? So what I am going to do in the class is, in the next class is, right? I will try to first give you an example, right? I will try to give you an example of this, and then later on, if I have time, I will try to see the proof of this, sketch of the proof, and then we will talk a little bit more about other properties of the Ranguta method, right? So that is what we are going to talk about in the next class. So I'm going to stop here and then we will continue tomorrow in the next class. So as you know, the other people are coming, not you, right? So math people are not requested to come, so you don't need to come here. But other people, I don't know why the dean asked them to come, but they are also accepted and they are very happily coming. That's what the dean says. I don't know. So now he started asking us, how do you want to conduct the ICA and everything, right? So which we don't know. Some people say they will conduct online and other things. So I am not decided on how to conduct the ICA and anything, right? So until we have a final decision on how your timetable and calendar is going to go, up to that point, I will hold on to conducting the ICAs, and once the time is correct, I will let you know how we are going to conduct the ICA. So up to that point, you don't need to worry about how to conduct, how our ICAs will be conducted, but you have to be aware that the ICAs can be conducted on a short notice, and sometimes the two ICAs can be conducted within 1 week or something, right? So that depends on how the dean is going to decide with your semester and exams and everything, right? So end of course of this exam, end of course exam for this course is only at the end of the second semester, so you don't need to worry about that. So we have lot of time for that, so we don't need to rush for the ICA. But in case if the situation continues, then we may have to think of a different way of ICA. But up to that point, you don't need to worry about my ICA at least, right? Even if the dean informs something by notice or anything, right? So we will continue our online lectures as usual on the usual time, right? So next week, our general degree classes starting again in a new timetable. So sometimes if I have any clash with this time, I will contact you later and adjust the time. Otherwise, at least this week we will continue with this time on Tuesday and Friday. Okay? So that is the information. The rest we will see on the Tuesday class.